Hello, I'm Dave and this is Logan, out once again for a walk in the countryside. Thanks for joining us. Now today we're at the pretty village of Cheriton in Hampshire. It's about 7 miles to the east of Winchester, and we're going to be doing a roughly 4.5 mile circular walk, starting and finishing in the village, and we'll be heading out across some beautiful fields, some stunning scenery. We'll be passing by the location of one of the most important battles in the English Civil War. We'll be saying hello once again to the River Itchen, and we're going to finish with something a little bit special. It's a beautiful sunny morning, mid-April, spring day. It's a little chilly this morning, but I say the sun's out now, so it's going to warm up. Should be spot on for a walk. So do join us. Well, I've parked my car next to the green in the centre of the village, quite close to the little post office and shop. Now the word Cheriton actually means church village, so a good place to start it would be the church, which is just behind me here. St Michael's and All Angels, actually built on a mound with the chancel above a steep slope. Now, the chancel and nave were built in the 13th century with additions and extensions in the 15th century. There were some major repairs after a big fire in 1744 when the tower porch and aisle walls were rebuilt, and there were further restorations in the 19th and 20th centuries. The south porch dates to the early 13th century and is probably the oldest part of the church. And just look at these marvellous carved heads either side of the porch. And it's thought that those came from an old church at Boworth to the south of here that was out of use by 1517. And just look on the wall there's an old mass dial where that hole there would have had a stick in to show locals when the next service was going to be. Now we're not going to pop inside because it's quite dark and the light's not so good in there, but I did go in and took some photographs of the 4 lovely stained windows, which I'm going to tell you about. Now these windows in the nave were installed by Mrs. Mary Phipps Egerton in memory of her 4 nephews killed in the First World War. And each of the windows depicts a knight personifying duty, courage, loyalty and honour. And the faces are actually those of her nephews. Now, William Cobbett, in his book Rural Rides that he wrote in the 1820s, described Cheriton as a little hard iron village where all seems to be as old as the hills that surround it. So let's have a little wander through before we kick out into the countryside proper, as it were. Well, here's this quite exquisite little village green with a stream, which I presume is the early stages of the River Itchen passing through. And there's the War Memorial. Just passing on my left hand side, the parish hall. You can see there's some signs up there that indicate that it's one of few best kept village competitions in the past, which I can fully understand. So look at that delightful green. It is so pretty. Oh, this stream is so clear that goes through the village. It really is. Now, the house I want to show you on the left here, called the H.H. House. It was the Hampshire Hunt Inn, or H.H. Inn. It's now a private house. Now, I don't know if you can see at the very top the Prince of Wales feathers and sign. Now, the Hampshire Hunt is one of the oldest hunts in England, established in 1745. And King George IV, when he was still Prince of Wales in 1795, hunted here and gave permission for hunt members to wear the Prince of Wales feathers on their hunt buttons. And permission to continue to use the royal crest has been sought from and granted by each Prince of Wales since. What does this say? Take notice this bridge is insufficient to carry weights beyond ordinary traffic. I think I should be okay with my my Whippet. Gosh, isn't that pretty? Looks like there's another Whippet over there, Logan. Delightful little thatched property there. So we're now heading south. Again, another one of these streams that's all connected up with the River Itchen. Again, so clear. Your typical Hampshire chalk stream. Somebody's out with their noisy lawnmower. Now just down here, well, there's an old chapel on my left, but this used to be the entrance many years ago to a timber yard called C&H Freeman. It was one of the major employers in the village, but it was empty in the 1990s, and 19 homes were built here about 10 years ago. Okie doke. Well, if you're doing this walk, this is a point to look out for. There's a property called, what does that say, Martwell, and this is the entrance to Cheriton House, and we're looking for this footpath here, the Wayfarers Walk, and this is going to take us down this little path that'll take us out into the countryside. As I mentioned, we're on the Wayfarers Walk, a 71-mile long distance path that runs from Walbury Hill in Berkshire all the way to Emsworth in Hampshire. Now we've just come up a little incline, and if I turn the camera around, you can just about make out in the distance Cheriton House. I'm not going to be able to see too much of it because a lot of hedges and fences around. It was built in the late 1700s, originally set in 20 acres. In fact, a farmhouse stood here on the site in Elizabethan times. It was known as Cheriton Lodge right up until the late 19th century. Now the house was closely associated with the Hampshire hunt, and the wife of Major Charles Barnet, who owned the property in the mid-19th century, apparently arranged for all of the posts and railings on the bridges to be painted white to make it nice and easy for anybody that was following the hunt to get back to the house. It's a lovely story, but certainly the railings are still all white today. Well folks, our first stunning view of the day. That beautiful in the morning sunshine. Just looking across there. So in the far distance, those woods, that's Cheriton Woods, we'll be heading close to there, and then we're going to be walking along, well basically along this ridge on the right, and then our homeward trip will be along in that direction over there. So we've certainly got a terrific walk to look forward to, and some of these views are quite beautiful, they really are. Well, we've been making our way along a ridge following a path called the Upper Lamborough Lane, I think it was called, and I'm now at the scene of what was the Battle of Cheriton that took place on the 29th of March 1644. And it was probably one of the first real big victories for the Roundheads over the Royalists in the English Civil War. And in fact, it resulted in defeat for the Royalists, and they were on the back foot really from then on, although the Civil War carried on for another 2 years. Now, I'm no historian, so I'll try and keep this brief and tell you a bit about the battle itself. So, just looking out over the scene, on the right hand side, this ridge here in the south was held by the Roundheads, and they were led by Sir William Waller, a parliamentary general who was marching from London with about 8 to 10,000 men and 16 cannon. And on the far side, which was the Royalists, was basically the combined armies of Lord Hopton, who held Winchester as his base, and the Lord Earl Forth. I think he came from Oxford. The Royalist army had about 6,000 men. I say some of these figures, they chop and change depending on what account you look up. And just over in the far distance you can see Cheriton Woods, and that was a key strategic part of the battlefield. It changed hands a few times during the battle, and the Royalists did actually gain control of the woods, and they were actually in a defensive mode, but for some reason one group of Royalists launched an attack which failed. But the Royalists kept launching attacks uphill and basically ran out of steam. The Roundheads retook the woods and then forced the Royalists back. In fact, the Royalists went all the way back through New Alresford in the north. I think they set that town alight to try and slow down their pursuers. Now there is a memorial board on the very far ridge, which hopefully we'll come across when we get there. Looks a very peaceful scene today, but back in 1644 it was a little bit more noisy round here. I tell you, it's absolutely gorgeous up here today. It's one of those real spring days. Temperature's now about 10 or 11 degrees, I reckon, and with the sun out makes it even better. But these views, I know I keep going on about them, but that grass has got that real lushness to it, the spring growth coming through. I'm guessing this is all going to be grown for haylage, or they might actually have dairy cows out here later on. Now that you can see there's a track, or it's got hedging either side. I remember reading on my research about the battle, that was very much a strategic track. One of the few areas that you could actually get horses up and down easily. It's still here today. Well, I've come as far east as I was going to go, so now we're heading northwards down another little track. A few bluebells beginning to show. Well, look at that, look at the roots there, where the soil underneath has eroded away. Right, we need to kick on. So that is the ridge that we've come across in the far distance, and we're now going to head down, and this is going to eventually come out on that track that had the two hedges either side that I pointed out earlier. Whew. We've made it to the other side of the ridge, and we've come to the memorial, which is just by me here, and hopefully this confirms everything that I told you on the other side. And I see there's a little plaque up here. I love the wooden carving there, lovely. Right, now did I get my facts right on the other side? Yes, here we are. That's the ridge that we came across. So the Roundheads or Parliament forces were on that side, and the Royalists were on this side. And there's that sort of sunken lane that I came through. There's Cheriton Wood, and we're standing about here. So sun's just gone temporarily in. So there's Cheriton Wood in the far distance. Oh, a little biplane going over the top by the looks of things. And just panning round. So there's the Roundheads Ridge, and then there's the sunken track in the far distance that we came up. Right, let's see if we can get some action shots of this biplane going over before we start heading westwards back to the village and the River Itchen. Well, if you're following this route from the map that I put up at the beginning, we've been heading westwards and then temporarily followed a footpath northwards, which actually took us out of the South Downs National Park just for a moment or two. We're now at the most northerly point, and if I just slowly pan the camera around, that's the post for the Wayfarers Walk, and this is looking northwards. Some newly planted crop out in the field there. Getting some beautiful views. The sun's just gone behind the clouds. Now we're going to carry on down this path here westwards. It's going to take us over the B3046, I think it is, and we're going to meet up with the River Itchen on the other side there. We'll just cross that little B road, and sure enough met up once again with our friend the River Itchen. Now it's not too big here because we're still quite upstream really. 26 miles long, eventually flows out into Southampton water, but it is so crystal clear. I know I keep saying it, and just pop over onto the other side of the road. Looks even clearer down there. Don't think I can see any fish in it so far. And then that's the water meadows there, and just over to my left is the old Cheriton Mill, and a lovely willow tree and the race going underneath the mill. I think it's an 18th century building. I think it's still got some 19th century a turbine attached to the race. Now we can go through here. I know it looks it's a private road, but what have we got here? Chickens loose, please keep dogs under control. Okay, well, Logan is on a lead, but there is part of the public footpath that goes through here, and there we can see down here you can still hear the water gushing through underneath the mill. Wow, isn't that quite enchanting? Lovely place to live. Ooh. Well, I thought those ducks were real for a minute. Just panning round, and again looking over to the Itchen. Of course, this area around here, if you look on an 1896 map, some old watercress beds used to be in these parts, and with springs 40 foot below the surface, it provides this pure chalk filtered water at a temperature of around about 50 degrees or so, 50 degrees Fahrenheit that is, in summer and winter. And on a winter's day you could often see steam rising off the water, known locally as roke, as the warm water met the frosty air. Just checking it out. Bit cool today. Oh, you need to warm up a little bit, fella. Well, we're on the homeward leg of the walk now. Just checked out the dog dip down there in the Itchen. So we're just going to follow a path that's going to take us back to the village. But we're not going to finish the video quite yet, because there's one more thing I want to show you. Well, at the end of the walk I got into my car and drove, I don't know, a mile or so south over the A272 to come to this, what looks like a pond, but it's actually the source of the River Itchen. As many regular viewers will know, I always keep saying the River Itchen is my favourite river, although the River Test and the River Meon come very close. And it does show on an Ordnance Survey map. Looks as though they've done a lot of clearing back here actually. And there are a couple of springs over onto the in that field on the other side of that little road as well, but the main spring is here. And as sources of rivers go, it is quite impressive. Often you come across these sources and they're sort of little dribbles coming out of a side of a hill, but this is quite good. And I think many years ago there was actually a watercress bed here, but I said it's special to me in Logan anyway. Well folks, we've come to the end of our walk. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give us a thumbs up and a like, and do make a comment. And if you haven't already subscribed, please do so, then hopefully you'll be able to join us for another walk sometime in the future. And do check out our Facebook page, Dave's Countryside Walks. We've had a super walk today. Cheriton was such a pretty place, and some of that countryside really was stunning. And what a way to end, by the source of the River Itchen. So until we meet again, thanks for watching, and cheerio. Yeah, good boy. You're perched on the edge of this log. Well done.